Welcome back to Anderson Acres. It's a really cold day out here. I mean, really cold day out here. It's not necessarily fun for me, but we are out here to live stream anyway. I'm Leanne. If you're new, I just hit my mic. Sorry. But I'm Leanne. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're coming back, welcome back. I am just checking stuff, setting things up, that kind of thing. Anyway, we are here today to do our weekly live stream, and it's the third Friday of the month, and that means we are talking about an animal. We are doing an animal spotlight, where we talk about a specific type of animal you might have on your farm, and then talk about a specific breed. There's a cat here at my feet. Hopefully she doesn't knock the camera over. It's been known to happen. So we're just trying to keep a control over the cat. But today we were talking about livestock guardian dogs, and I am going to focus in on the Great Pyrenees. And the reason I'm focusing in on the Great Pyrenees, and that was Whiskey's Tail. The reason I'm focusing in on the Great Pyrenees is because that's the kind I own. If you would like to hear about other breeds, let me know, and I will dive into the research and talk to people who own them so that I can bring you the best information I'm capable of bringing you. And sorry if I keep hitting the mic. I forget it's there all the time. Anyway, let's get started here. Let's get started. I want to talk about livestock guardian dogs. So, livestock guardian dogs, what are they? In general, a livestock guardian dog is a class of working dogs that's bred specifically to live with and protect their livestock. They're not a typical guardian breed. They're not like your Rotties or your Shepherds that you might use to guard your house. They are born and bred to be out with the livestock, to not harm the livestock, but to defend the livestock from any and all things that might harm them. Whether that is another dog that might venture into their property, whether it is a coyote, which is the problem we have most of the time, or whether it's a human that isn't supposed to be there. They are born and bred to protect livestock. They can bond with family. Yes, they can bond with their humans, but their primary purpose is to be out here looking after the livestock. These guys are bred for centuries. Okay, livestock guardian breeds are not new. They don't pop up out of nowhere. They've literally been bred for centuries to be calm with their flock, but aggressive towards predators. They are deliberate. They are calm. They are independent dogs. And unlike herding dogs, they don't move the livestock, and they don't necessarily even move with the livestock. Thank you. There's a rooster. But they don't move with the livestock, and they don't move the livestock. They are there to guard and to bond with them. Okay? Hi, guys. And here's our Vodka. Big old Vodka with his big old head, who seriously might knock the camera over with his big old tail. Sorry, everything's Vodka tail now. That's just the way it is. Vodka tail with a leaf. It's a leaf in the vodka tail. So, yes, you can't control them. They are bred to be independent and powerful. They guard and bond with their livestock. That is their purpose in life. Okay. Some of the key traits of livestock guardian breeds. They are large and intimidating. Vodka's 150 pounds. Tequila is smaller, being one, a female, and two, she trends towards the smaller side, so she's about 100 pounds. But Vodka's big for a Pyrenees. He's not the biggest livestock guardian, and Pyrenees are not the biggest livestock guardian dog you will find, but they certainly are large. So big dogs, intimidating. He's not intimidating right now because he's rolling in leaves. Be intimidating, Vodka. Be intimidating. Come here. Come here. Just going past. They don't always come when called. It's fine. We don't worry about it. But they have strong protective instincts. So they're just kind of wandering around having fun. But before we started the live stream, they were going bonkers over this blanket. So I have a blanket out with me because it's actually really cold. I'm just going to move the blanket more under me because it's actually really cold out. It's cold. I want a blanket. But they were barking like crazy at this blanket, because they were really quite worried about it, because it's not usually out here on the chair. So they were quite worried. So they're very protective, even when it comes to blankets. Okay, do not knock the camera over. Thank you. Vodka doesn't like to get too far from his, including me. They have really strong protective instincts, so he will protect me if he thinks that something's up and he needs to guard me even against my own blanket. He will. So with Tequila, right, Keela? Yes, that's my girl, my beautiful doggy. So they have really strong protective instincts and big tails. They also are knocking things over. Good job, Vodka. He just knocked a pole over. But they're really independent thinkers as well. And this can be frustrating to people when it comes to livestock guardian breeds, because they don't always want to listen. They are bred to think for themselves. Okay, they're born and bred to see threats, identify threats, and act to prevent those threats from hurting their flock. And if that means ignoring you, so be it. That's what they do. They are absolutely independent thinkers. If you are expecting 100% obedience, I'm not going to get it. These guys are not the most obedient of animals. It's not going to happen. They're not into that. Okay? They're not into that. And this, hi, Vodka, you came back. Where were you? Besides knocking things over. Gonna go. And Whiskey's here too. Whiskey's not a livestock guardian. Here he is. He's a golden doodle with a leaf on his face. He's not a livestock guardian, so he's not. Promise he's not. We don't try to make him a livestock guardian. Golden doodles don't do the job. You need a specific livestock guardian breed, whether it is the Great Pyrenees, like you see right around the background, playing with my son. They're playing, by the way. They are playing. They're not doing anything else. They're just playing. He's not in any danger. They're just goofing around. So if you see that in the background, it's because that's my younger son, Rowan, playing with the dogs. He's fine. Even if they sound scary, with Rowan, they are not. They would give their lives to defend Rowan. So what else is a key trait of a livestock guardian? They're getting Rowan. Yeah. But what else is a key trait of a livestock guardian? That's a good question. Low prey drive. They are bred to have a low prey drive. They have a low prey drive. It's so they don't chase your livestock. You can't have a livestock guardian dog that is running around chasing your chickens or going after your goats or doing any of those things you do not want your livestock guardian dogs to do. So they are born and bred to have a low prey drive. So really independent, low prey drive. They are also kind of aloof with strangers. Now, the Great Pyrenees is one of the friendlier of the livestock guardian breeds, but they're all naturally suspicious. They are deeply loyal to their family and their flock. Strangers, not so much. They're not too into having the strangers around. Okay? They're just not. It's not a thing for them. They'd rather strangers stay away. Now, if you have a lot of strangers come to your home, you might want to get something like a Maremma or a Pyrenees that are a little more friendly towards people, but even they are not super friendly. Okay? Even they are very much independent, very much protective of their family, and very much would rather strangers stay away. Also, you need to know that livestock guardians bark a lot. Pyrenees bark more than most. Okay, they bark like crazy, but all livestock guardian breeds bark. It's their way of signaling that they own this territory. Okay, that's what they do. They say, this is my property. I am going to bark so that all the coyotes and the foxes in the land know this is my yard. So even though you might want a quiet livestock guardian is an ineffective livestock guardian. Pyrenees bark more than most. They all bark. All of them. It's part of how they guard their flock. So expecting a livestock guardian to not bark is really not fair to them or to you. Okay, it's really important that you know that in advance. They do bark, and they do bark a lot. Some of the more common breeds, Great Pyrenees is one of the most common. It's because they're the friendliest. Other livestock guardians are as effective, and some even a little bit more effective. But the Great Pyrenees, and there's a Great Pyrenees in the pen behind me, but the Great Pyrenees are friendly. And because they're friendly and they're good with families, they're good with children, they tend to be among the most popular. They are originally from the border area between France and Spain. So they're quite popular. They're quite majestic. They are my favorite, mostly because they are good with so many different people, and they bond really well with their family. There is the Anatolian Shepherd. Now, Tequila is part Anatolian Shepherd. Okay, she's not a purebred Great Pyrenees. Vodka is a purebred Great Pyrenees. Tequila is not. She is 1/8 Anatolian Shepherd. You can actually see that in her. It actually makes her a little bit more reactive, which is not a bad thing for us. A little more reactive is okay for us. But it is important that you know that Anatolian Shepherds are a little less friendly, so she's less friendly than Vodka, and a little bit more reactive. Okay, they're a little less deliberate, so they're still a great, great dog. We love her. She's perfect for our farm, but you need to know the traits of the different breeds before you pick one. So we're going to talk mostly about Pyrenees today. We are going to talk more about the other types in different live streams. There's also the Maremma sheepdog. These guys are from Italy. The Anatolian Shepherd, by the way, is primarily from Turkey. The Maremma sheepdog, they're also a friendly breed, easy to train as far as livestock guardians go. None of the livestock guardians are easy to train, but Maremmas are easier than some. And they're primarily from Italy. There's also a Kuvaz, I probably am saying that wrong, from Hungary. There is an Akbash from Turkey. The Tibetan Mastiff, primarily from Tibet. The dogs are going nuts. Rowan's good. You're gonna lose a glove. Rowan's gonna lose a glove. They're taking his gloves. That's what they do. They take his gloves and they run away. But there's the Tibetan Mastiff, primarily from Tibet. And then there is the Caucasian Shepherd, which is from remote parts of Russia. So all of these different dogs have slightly different qualities, but they all can do the job. Okay? They absolutely all can do the job. They are smart dogs. They are independent dogs. And frankly, they're pretty good at what they do. Okay? They're pretty good at what they do. So whichever breed you pick, they are going to be able to get the job done. I promise. It's just which breed works best for you. Vodka's rolling in something stinky. That's a great. We love it when he rolls in something stinky. It's fantastic. It's great. He's going to stink. So now that we've talked a little bit about the general qualities of livestock guardians, I want to talk about the Pyrenees specifically, the Great Pyrenees specifically. Hi, buddy. This is not a Great Pyrenees. This is a golden doodle. But this is Whiskey. He's just hanging out. So what can we say about the Great Pyrenees? Well, if we're going to put a spotlight on a Great Pyrenees, we want to talk a little bit about their history and their origins. They originate in the mountain range between France and Spain. That's why they're both French and Spanish. So they're a European breed. And they've been used by shepherds for centuries to protect from things like bears and wolves and even human poachers. So they're a really important part of that part of Europe when it comes to protecting sheep. Primarily, they were bred to protect sheep. You can use them to protect other animals. We don't have sheep on the farm right now at Anderson Acres. We are going to have sheep at some point, but we don't have them right now. And instead, our Great Pyrenees protect our mini horse, our goat, our chickens, our turkeys, our ducks, our quail, our rabbits, and ourselves. They are incredibly important animals, and they are definitely important on our farm. And in the 17th century, they were actually named the Royal Dog of France, which is kind of cool. Physically, they are a large, powerful dog. like this Vodka beside me. Good boy. But physically, they're a large, powerful dog. Usually the males are between 100 and 130 pounds. Males can range up to 170. He's about 100. He'll probably come in under that. He's about 150 right now. He'll probably end up somewhere between 150 and 160. He's not even 2 yet. So he's a big boy. Most males will be around 130 would be normal. Females would be 100 to 120 normally. Tequila's around 100. So it depends on the dog and their particular lineage. So Vodka comes from a fairly large line of Pyrenees. Tequila's mom was more slight. They have thick white coats. Some of them have badger markings. Now you'll notice Vodka and Tequila are white. Hi, buddy. Vodka and Tequila are white, especially Vodka's completely white. Tequila does have some Anatolian Shepherd markings, but they're very light. They are not real noticeable unless you're really up close. Hi, Whiskey. These leaves all over you, man. But they are typically white. Most of them are white. If you find ones with badger markings, they're absolutely adorable. And I hear ducks. Ducks are on the move. But mostly they're white or white with badger color markings. They have a plume tail. So you've seen Vodka's tail go back and forth a couple times as he walks around. But they have this nice big plume tail that is often curled over their back. And they have strong, can't talk today. But they have strong, flat feet that are good for climbing mountainous terrain. Vodka's trying to get the ducks to go where he wants them. Which is kind of funny. He's like, oh, I want the ducks over there. Yeah, you guys don't need to do that. They like to move the ducks. I don't know why. Tequila likes to put everyone to bed. She likes all the birds to be in the barn at the same time. It's odd. But they have a double dew claw on their back feet, and that double dew claw is actually really good for on mountainous or rocky terrain or terrain that's not flat. So we're on the prairies, we're pretty flat, but they're a mountain dog, so those dew claws actually help them get grip and help them climb up the sides of mountains with their sheep, because sheep are pretty sure-footed and dogs tend not to be. So that's why they have that double dew claw. The Pyrenees. Some of the other livestock guardian breeds have that as well. Pyrenees were specifically bred to be a mountain dog. Their temperament, the Pyrenees specifically, is calm, patient, and gentle with their charges. They are incredibly gentle. They're supposed to be. If they're not gentle, that's a problem. They're independent decision makers, like most livestock guardians. They won't necessarily do as they're told, and they don't always come when called. Okay, so it's important to know when you are dealing with livestock guardians, especially the Great Pyrenees, that tend to basically be deaf half the time. They'll come if they think it's a good idea. I tend to think of it as, you said to come, so they'll take a message and they'll do it later. Because they'll do it, they just have a list of things that they have put higher on the priority list than coming. So it's not that they're disobedient, it's that they have to do it in their own time because they're busy doing other things. A dog that you call and comes every time, but leaves their goats vulnerable to attack, is no use at all as a livestock guardian. So it was accidentally bred into them to ignore you. Because you want the dog that ignores you and stays with the flock when the coyotes are near, instead of the dog that comes every single time and the goats get eaten. So they were accidentally bred to ignore you. It's called deliberate disobedience. It wasn't bred into them on purpose, but in selecting your best livestock guardians in order to breed a better livestock guardian, you do inadvertently breed the ones that were not, that did not leave their charges to die. And that means you bred them to ignore you. So it wasn't done on purpose, but it is one of the consequences. There's turkey in the background. But it was one of the consequences of breeding them to be better livestock guardians. Okay, so it wasn't on purpose, but it did happen. So they won't always listen. The Great Pyrenees is really loyal and affectionate with people, as long as they're people they know. Okay, strangers are not acceptable to most livestock guardian breeds. The Pyrenees is better with strangers than a lot of dogs, than a lot of livestock guardians. but they're still not great with them. They still would rather strangers. Off you go. They are suspicious without being aggressive. So that's one of the reasons I like the Great Pyrenees for our farm, because they're suspicious of strangers, but they're not automatically aggressive towards strangers. Okay? They're not automatically all up on them and thinking they're going to hurt them, thinking they're a threat to the farm. They're suspicious, not aggressive. They're also famous for being stubborn. It's not stubbornness. Okay? They're not stubborn. It's purposeful thinking. They are deciding what needs to be done next. They are not just being stubborn. They are considering their options and figuring out what is the thing that they need to do next. Okay? It's not about being stubborn. It's about them choosing what they're doing next in order to be an effective livestock guardian, like Vodka. Vodka's fantastic. You have mud all over your face and more leaves on your butt. Awesome. Yes, a livestock guardian. He's fantastic. So, some fun facts about the Great Pyrenees specifically. Again, we'll talk about other breeds of livestock guardian in different live streams eventually, not next month. Next month, we'll probably talk about chickens or rabbits. I haven't decided, but it's not going to be livestock guardians. But Great Pyrenees today. Some of the fun facts about them: their white coat was bred deliberately. It didn't happen by accident. They were bred to be white because it helps them blend in with their sheep. If the wolves can't see the Great Pyrenees, the wolves will make themselves known a little bit faster, and the Great Pyrenees can react a little bit faster rather than losing a charge that they don't want to lose. So they're bred to blend in with sheep. They have double dew claws. I mentioned that a few minutes ago. The back leg has a double set of dew claws. This is This is an ancient mountain trait, allowing them to scale up the sides of mountains to go where they need to go with falling, because they're not as sure-footed as a sheep or a goat might be, and help with them. They have this bark first, ask questions later motto, and that means there's a lot of barking. Okay, there's Tequila. There's a lot of barking that happens all the time because they bark first, ask questions later. You could consider that the Great Pyrenees motto, because it's crazy how much they bark. It's for a good reason. They bark to keep the coyotes and the wolves and the bears at bay. But yeah, they bark all the time. They're probably among the barkiest of all the livestock guardian breeds. They are also known as escape artists. There's not a farm fence built that'll keep Tequila in. She would need a 10-foot fence, and if there's any way she can get any grip, she'll climb it. She's quick. Vodka's not as quick, and he doesn't quite have the agility, but Tequila could get over a 10-foot fence if it was made of chain link. It'd have to be solid wood to keep her in. Or concrete. Concrete will work. Gwen, do not knock over my camera. There's a cat at the camera tripod, and she has knocked it over before. So yes, they are definitely escape artists. So containment-wise, you're going to have to do some thinking, especially if you're getting a Pyrenees, but all livestock guardians like to escape. People will say Great Pyrenees do it more than others. It's only because they're more popular, so people have more experience with them. They'll all do it all of the time. Escaping is like on the agenda 100% of the time. So, basic livestock guardian training tips. If you do have a question, drop it in the chat. Hopefully I will see it. That's why I have the chat up over here. But basic training tips. Okay, first of all, start young and do not expect instant obedience. It can be difficult to start with an older livestock guardian. The younger, the better, because you can raise them around the specific animals you have. If you can't get them young, try to get them from somewhere that has similar animals to you. So if you raise goats, you're going to want to get your livestock guardian from somewhere that had goats. If you raise chickens, you want to make sure the place had chickens. You don't want to take a 2-3-year-old livestock guardian and introduce it to livestock it's never seen before. That's making your life more difficult than it has to be. It's not that it's not possible. It's that it's more difficult than it really has to be. You also want to use a lot of positive reinforcement. Okay. They don't really respond well to harsh correction. They tend to think that you're an idiot and you shouldn't be doing that. And they're just going to start ignoring you incessantly. Instead of just the normal level of ignoring you, they'll just completely ignore you. So you want to be very, very positive with this type of dog. You want to try really hard to bond to these kind of dogs because they'll respond better to you if they are bonded to you. They should love, respect, and trust you. And in order for them to love, respect, and trust you, you have to love, respect, and trust them back. So it starts with you. The relationship between you and them is going to come from you. So start out how you mean to carry on. Harsh correction methods really do not work, especially because they're expected to do a job. Hi, Vodka. But they're expected to do a job without you sitting there. They are out among the livestock. You need to be able to trust them even when you're not there. And part of trusting them when you're not there involves making sure they have a positive relationship with the livestock. So a positive relationship with the livestock will come from a positive relationship with you. So try to avoid harsh correction if you can. Don't expect them to be 100% reliable off leash because they have their own ideas. They think for themselves. They are going to do what they need to do. Okay? It's not that they're not reliable. It's that they have their own idea of what's important and they are going to do the important things. Okay? They will do the important things, even if you think the important thing's not important. They have a different list of priorities. You also want to make sure that you socialize them. And when I say socialize them, I do not mean the traditional, well, he has to meet everyone and he has to meet every puppy and he has to meet all the humans. And no, I don't mean that kind of socialization. I mean the kind where he will ignore things he's supposed to ignore. Your livestock guardian doesn't have to be friendly with everyone and everything. Okay? In fact, they shouldn't be. They're a guardian dog. They're not there as a pet. They're there to protect your farm. But they do need to be socialized in the sense that they can ignore what doesn't matter. So they should be able to ignore your sister's dog when she brings her dog over. If the dog's not doing anything, your dog should ignore that dog. They don't have to play. They don't have to be all up in each other's faces. But they do have to be able to just kind of meander along with their life if there's no threat. So when I say socialization is important, I don't mean that they have to be everyone's friend. I have to mean being neutral. They need to be neutral when it comes to a heck of a lot of things that are going to happen. They shouldn't respond to every little thing. They need to respond to a threat. So take that as you will. When it comes to housing and containment, containing these guys can be a bit of a hat trick. Everyone will have stories about how their livestock guardian dogs have been roaming since the beginning of time. And frankly, yes, strong fencing can help. We have tracking collars. You can use boundary fencing, so you can use bound collars, you can use actual fencing. You can solve the problem by owning hundreds of acres so the dog can never go far enough to be off your property. There's a lot of ways to tackle the problem, but essentially what you're dealing with is a dog that tends to roam, okay? Especially Pyrs. My Pyrenees, they'll roam if they can, all right? So that's why tracking collar, where the heck did you go? But normally they do kind of stay home looking after their flock, but roaming is a part of how they do their job, okay? They roam to keep the coyotes and foxes far away. It's not that they're running away from home. It's that they are expanding their boundary to keep the coyotes away from their chickens. So that's why they roam. It's natural. Many livestock guardians do patrol a perimeter. So if you do have perimeter fencing, make sure it's secure and safe. It will help them, one, define a boundary, right? So it'll help them know that this is the boundary of my property, but it'll also help stop them or slow them down just a little bit. Even if you can slow your livestock guardians down, that'll help. Give you a chance to catch up. When it comes to shelter, generally they're going to be housing with your livestock. They're generally not. Now, you can absolutely build them their own dog houses. Ours won't use a dog house to save their lives. They would rather either come in the house and hang with the humans, or go in the barn and hang with the horse, or go lay out with the rabbits in their pens. They're not into this whole, there goes Tequila, but they're not into this whole doghouse thing. Ours would rather lay in a dirt hole than a doghouse. So doghouses can be fine, but expect them to want to stay with whatever they're protecting. If they're protecting humans, they're probably going to want to be near the humans. So definitely consider that when you are choosing whether or not you're going to build a doghouse. Because if these guys are busy protecting the horse, they don't want to be in a doghouse. They want to be with the horse. So integrating them with your existing flock. Tequila's right here. Yes, you're a good girl, Keela. Yeah, don't knock over the camera. I'll rub your butt, but don't knock the camera. Yeah, she likes to have her butt rubbed. So integrating them. Ideally, you want them raised with livestock right from when they're like 8 to 12 weeks old. You want them around that livestock. It's really important. I'm not saying you put them out there with livestock by themselves. I'm saying you put them out there with you. At first, they have to go out with you because they don't know the livestock yet. But it's important to start integrating them when they're young. So 8 to 12 weeks old. Bonding is critical. Some livestock guardian dogs bond with chickens, goats, even rabbits. All right. All right. We're going to do a job. We're doing a job. That's kind of what they do, is their job. So they're off doing a job. So bonding again. So they can bond with chickens, goats. They can bond with rabbits. Ours bond with pretty much everything we have on the property. And because of that, they are willing to protect everything. You do need to give time for that bonding to happen when they're young. So they need to spend plenty of time with the animals on your property. You can't have them inside for 2 years and then suddenly take them outside and go, here you go, you're a livestock guardian dog now. That's not the way it works. It never works. Okay, it doesn't work that way. So you have to make sure they're integrated young and that they are introduced to all of the animals that you have at a very young age. You also want to supervise those early interactions because puppies are puppies. Okay, no matter what type of puppy they are, they're puppies. They want to play. You need to supervise those early interactions so that your dog learns. Hi, Vaude. That's a wonderful stick, man. That's a great stick. And that's whiskey. That's a good stick. Hi, Keela. Everyone's here now. You did a job? Okay. So you want to supervise those early interactions because puppies will ultimately be puppies. Even the best livestock guardian puppy wants to play sometimes. And thank you. And you don't want them playing with your chickens or your baby goats because someone could get hurt. Remember, these are powerful dogs. They could get hurt. So definitely make sure that you're supervising those early interactions. It'll set you up for long-term success. So working dogs versus companion dogs. So not every single livestock guardian dog needs a job. Yes, some of them are pets. There are some great success stories of people who have livestock guardian dogs living in the city. I don't necessarily recommend it, but there are some people who have great success. Not every livestock guardian dog needs a job, but those without a job might create a job, and you might not love the job they create. They might be guarding your porch or chasing hawks off your fence line, keeping the mailman away from your property. All of those things could be a job for your livestock guardian dog. If you don't want them to do one of those jobs, you need to pick a job for them. A livestock guardian dog with a job is a happier livestock guardian dog. So yes, they can be pets. Yes, they can live in the city. I don't recommend it, but they can. You just need to make sure they have something to do, even if that's guarding your porch. Maybe their porch is their property that they're protecting. That can work. It can be family dogs, but they're not for everyone. Remember, these are big, powerful dogs, and they tend to shed a lot. So if you don't want a big, powerful dog, if you don't want to big, powerful dog that sheds, you probably don't want a livestock guardian dog. Okay? Livestock guardian dogs that are pets should still have a basic purpose. This could be watching the kids, defending the home, protecting your porch, something. They should still have a purpose. They shouldn't be expected to be lawn ornaments, and they shouldn't be expected to sit around on your couch all day. So find a job for them, even if that job is sitting at your front window, making sure nobody comes up to your yard, or even just alerting you to packages. They will alert you to packages. So they should have something to do. It can be a very basic job, but something to do. So let's talk about some basic misconceptions when it comes to livestock guardian dogs. First of all, roaming. Roaming is often mistaken for disobedience. It's not. It's actually guarding behavior. When a livestock guardian is roaming a little bit, what they're doing is pushing the predators further away from their property. Okay, they're pushing the predators away from there's vodka, by the way, back behind me. But they are pushing the predators further away from their zone, and they are making sure their friends are safe, basically. So roaming is not disobedience, it is a form of protection. Barking. Barking is not random. It's also not disobedient. And that was perfect timing, Key. Barking as I talk about barking. That was Tequila. She's on that side of the camera. So it's not random. It is protective signaling. It's telling everybody that they're in their property, that they are protecting their zone. They are letting all of the coyotes and wolves and neighborhood dogs know, this is my yard, stay out. Okay, so it's not disobedience and it's not bad. They're doing a job. Sometimes you have to curtail the barking if you live in the city, but in general, I let them bark. I let them bark. They are protecting their property from the coyotes. The more they bark, the less the coyotes come into our property, and we do have a huge coyote problem here. Another misconception is that they're not obedient. Well, they can learn commands. They're smart. They do. These guys know their commands, but they weigh whether or not to obey. And that again goes back to the way they were bred. They were not bred to listen to everything you have to say. They were bred to protect, even if that means they're going to ignore you. Okay. So the disobedience, it's not that they're disobedient. Okay. They can learn. They're smart. Okay. Tequila's smart as a whip. So is Vodka. I'm not saying Vodka's an idiot. He's not stupid. It's just Tequila's really smart. So they're smart. They can learn commands. It's just that when you're giving a command, if they think they know better, they're going to do better because they have a job to do. Ultimately, they're a working breed. And if they know the job, they may have to ignore you to get the job done because you might not hear the fox that's in the bush. You don't hear the fox, but they know it's there. So they're going to take off to deal with it. That's what Vodka does. Vodka will put the beat down on coyotes, even if I didn't notice the coyotes. He's not waiting around for me to give instructions. He is doing his job because that's his job. So, next up, one of the myths that happens a lot, that I hear a lot, is, well, really, my Great Pyrenees is just too gentle to protect. They're not. They are calm and gentle and sweet. But Vodka can take on 3 coyotes and win. And they have difficulty walking away, if you know what I mean. He has no problem defending his flock. Tequila doesn't either. But I was talking about Vodka because he was the one walking past me. Tequila's that way. So they absolutely can defend their flock, even if they are sweet, gentle animals. Just because they're sweet and gentle with you doesn't mean they can't do their job. So yes, they're sweet and gentle, but they absolutely 100% can do their job, and they will. So, a little bit about Vodka and Tequila. Somebody had asked me before the stream started if I could talk about them specifically. Yeah, they actually are really good dogs. Okay, they're fantastic at what they do. They work really well as a team. So Vodka's a little more reserved, a little more deliberate. a little calmer. Tequila is the reactive one. She's the one that, oh my God, something is happening. I better do something about it right now. And then she calls Vodka for backup. So we like having them in teams. 2 or 3 is ideal, or more if you have the space for it. But one might get into trouble. One might not be able to do all the jobs they're supposed to do. Okay? But having them in pairs or trios, yeah, they do the job well. Ours are the perfect pair. So you've got one calm and deliberate, one much more on the ball, knows exactly what's going on, can hear a leaf flutter 3 properties down. So she knows what's going on, and she calls Vodka for backup if she needs him, and he's gone over that way. Tequila's still over there. So, livestock guardian dogs, ultimately, they're not pets, right? A few closing thoughts, and then I'm going to get to some questions that I had submitted before the stream. Livestock guardian dogs are not pets, not in the traditional sense anyway. They are partners. They are basically, they're your friend. They're there to help you do your job, which is keep your animals safe. They are going to do that job. So remember, they're a partner, not an employee. They're going to do the job, whether you think they should or can do the job, they're going to just do it. Okay? They'll do it to the best of their ability. The Great Pyrenees specifically, but all livestock guardian dogs, are really majestic dogs. They are stubborn. They're fluffy examples of centuries-old purpose-bred dogs. These dogs are bred to do a job. They are not bred to be a lap dog. They are bred to be out here in the cold, despite the fact that I literally just saw a flake of snow. They're bred to be out here working their butts off, protecting their flock. They thrive when given the space and respect their instincts demand. And they do demand quite, come here, Tequila. They do demand quite a bit of respect. They need it. You need to respect them if they're going to respect you. And they're absolutely fantastic dogs. So, I have a few questions here that were submitted by viewers before today. If you have a question, you can drop it in the chat. Hopefully I'll see it. I do have the chat running beside me. If you want a question answered now, I can do my best to answer it. But I do have on here a few questions that people submitted earlier. One of them was, what's the difference between a livestock guardian dog and a herding dog? Livestock guardian dogs protect. They're not going to move your sheep from point A to point B. They're going to sit there and watch the sheep move around from point A to point B, because their job is not to move the sheep. Their job is to protect the sheep. Okay? So generally, can Tequila herd a little bit? Can Vodka? Not a smidge. He has none of it. But she can herd a little bit. She can herd the birds in for bed. It's not her specialty. Her specialty is protecting the animals from harm. It's generally not something you are going to have a lot of, the herding instinct in a livestock guardian. So don't get livestock guardians thinking they are going to herd your animals for you. They're not. Can livestock guardians be kept as family pets? Yes, they do make fine pets for a family that's determined and able to manage them. Remember, these are large dogs and they shed a lot. However, they are best with a job. Again, a small job like defending the porch from porch pirates will work fine. They do need something to do. It helps them be happy and fulfilled. At what age should a livestock guardian dog start working? Early as possible. Now, they're not able to be on their own till they're like 2. They have to grow up. Okay, so you're not going to leave a 2-month-old puppy outside by itself and expect it to do the job. They need to be 2 years old. Takes a couple years of training, and you've got to wait for the puppy to settle out of them. Hi, buddy. So you have to make sure you're giving them the time they need to develop the skills they need to develop before they are by themselves. But generally, as young as possible. So if you have a litter of livestock guardian puppies, get them out there 4 weeks old, running around with the livestock. If you are getting a puppy for the first time, 8 to 12 weeks old, get them out there. You're not going to leave them out there necessarily, but they need to have the exposure. They need to start working and start training to do the job they're going to do as soon as humanly possible. Do livestock guardians need to be trained, or is it all instinct? I would say it's 90% instinct but they do still need some training. Okay, you do want to train them, and most of that training is going to involve bonding. Okay, you want them really, really bonded to you. And you also want them to have some respect for you. Hi, Jake. I've got a cat down here. But you want to spend some time training them. Yes, their instincts do tend to take over, but you do want to have just basic obedience. You want basic obedience. You're going to want to be working with them with the livestock from day one, just so they understand that they can't chase the livestock. Puppies will be puppies, remember. So you do need to do some basic training, but I would say it's about 90% instinct. They do the job really well. They're smart, but you're going to have to work on introducing them to your livestock so they know who to protect, who is normal, and who is normal to have around, and who might be an intruder. So you definitely want to be on top of that. How much space do livestock guardians' dogs need to be happy? They honestly don't need that much space. The space your livestock guardians occupy is typically the space your livestock occupies. They don't need extra space beyond that. I would say, Jake, sorry, there's a cat who's going to knock over my camera. Yes, Jake. But I would say that they need a yard, or they need a ton of walking. Okay. But generally the space your livestock occupies is perfectly fine for them. They don't need a whack ton of space. They need just adequate space. A small yard would do, but generally you don't have livestock in a small yard. So if they're a family pet, a yard is ideal. Plenty of walks, plenty of things to do, so they don't get bored, because they do tend to get bored. Hi, Bod. Let's go, boy. Hi, Keela. Yes, everybody's here. Yeah, it's hard to get rid of them. You can't really get rid of them. They kind of just hang out. Even when they're doing stuff, they're hanging out. Do livestock guardians get along with other dogs? Yes and no. Sometimes. It depends on the other dog, to be honest. So Vodka will get along with pretty much anyone. Okay, do not knock the camera over, Vodka. Come on. But Vodka can get along with pretty much anyone. He went with the neighbor's dog coming to visit right up until she tried to eat his ducks. Then it was no more neighbor's dog. His neighbor's dog had to go home and never come back, because they're fine with other dogs typically, as long as those other dogs are not a threat. And as long as you introduce them to those other dogs. Are they going to be fine with another dog marching onto their property and trying to eat their duck? No. Okay, that was a bridge too far for Vodka. He'd had enough of her when she tried to bite his duck. Dolly, our duck. Hi, sweetheart. It's Tequila right here. And Whiskey. Yeah, Whiskey's not a livestock guardian. But they can get along with other dogs just fine, as long as those other dogs, as long as those other dogs are not posing a threat to anybody. Okay, they're fine. Why do livestock guardian dogs bark so much is a question I got. Yes, they do bark a lot. I think I answered that earlier, but basically it's because they are warning other predators that this is their property, stay away from my property. Okay, so barking is a normal, natural livestock guardian thing. Can you curtail it a little bit? Yeah, you can a little bit if you want, but mostly they are going to bark, and you want them to bark. It'll tell all the neighborhood coyotes that this property is occupied. Go somewhere else. Do livestock guardian dogs need a job to be happy? Well, yes and no. So they don't necessarily need livestock to protect. They need something to do. So livestock guardians are bred to do something other than just sit all day. Okay, they're not designed to sit on your couch and just hum and haw all day. So ideally, yeah, you want to give a job to your livestock guardians. It can be guarding your porch. They don't have to guard livestock. It's ideal if they can, but if you have a livestock guardian dog, there they go playing. If you have a livestock guardian dog and you don't have livestock, you can keep them occupied, and they can be plenty happy without livestock, as long as they have something to do. How do you keep livestock guardians from wandering? If when you find out, tell me. We're just attacking everybody, are we? But yeah, see, they love to play. They like having each other. So having them in pairs can help keep them home and keep them happy because it gives them something to do. But the question was, how do you keep them from wandering? When you find out, tell me. Thank you, Whiskey. That's Whiskey's bark. He has a big dog bark and a medium dog party. Whiskey. Thank you. He's a golden noodle. He's got a good bark. But keep them from wandering. You can use fences. You can use boundary collars. You can use boundary training, which is what we did. At some point, they may wander anyway. It's in their genes. It's part of how they protect. So how do you keep them from wandering? You do your very best. Military fencing. It can be a bit of a hat trick. So if you can do it, yay. Are livestock guardian dogs good with kids? It depends on the breed. So Pyrenees, the Great Pyrenees, are fantastic with kids. Generally, so I'm not really an advocate of leaving your dog alone with kids anyway, any kind of dog. But again, strange kids, if they are a threat, so a strange kid picking up your ducks may not be a great plan. They're fine with kids generally. They generally think kids are small and vulnerable and need to be protected. But again, it's an individual dog thing and it depends on the breed. So would I invite all the neighborhood kids over 100% of the time and have them hanging out in the backyard with my livestock guardians unsupervised? No, I wouldn't do it. So I had some Great Pyrenees specific questions because we have Great Pyrenees. What makes the Great Pyrenees different from other livestock guardians? They're really popular. And the reason they're really popular is simply because they are a friendly breed. They're a pretty breed. They're a little bit easier to train than some of the breeds out there. So the Great Pyrenees, they're a lot like the other livestock guardians. They tend to be a little bit easier to train to poultry, which is why we have them. They're a little bit easier to train for poultry. Poultry is not something that comes naturally to livestock guardians. They tend to be more for sheep, goats, cattle, that kind of thing. So poultry can be difficult to train your livestock guardian to. So I would say one of the biggest differences is, one, they're friendly. Two, they might be suspicious, but they're not aggressive. Some of the livestock guardian breeds are more aggressive. And three, they are easier to train to poultry. That's why we went with a Great Pyrenees. They're also real pretty, but all livestock guardians are pretty. Why do Great Pyrenees have the double dew claws? That's because they are a mountain breed. So we have fairly flat land because we're on the prairies. But livestock guardians, Great Pyrenees specifically, were bred to be mountain dogs. So goats and sheep go up the mountain. So the Great Pyrenees has to be able to go up the mountain. So those double dew claws help them in climbing up the sides of the mountain and getting kind of a grip. An extra toe isn't a bad thing when you're trying to climb up the side of a mountain, especially when you're following goats and sheep who are really sure-footed, and dogs tend to be less sure-footed than goats and sheep. So that's why they have that double dew claw. How do you deal with the shedding from a Great Pyrenees? You just kind of cope. You brush them a lot. You do what you can to reduce the amount of hair in the house by doing the brushing outside instead of in your living room. But generally, it's everywhere. Great Pyrenees have a lot of hair. They have more hair than a lot of the livestock guardians have. They need it because they're a really good cold weather breed. We get to minus 40 in the winter. They have to be able to be outside. So that coat is necessary in our weather. It's just not fun to deal with, especially in the spring when it's literally everywhere. It's basically glitter. Think of it like glitter. You know, when your kids release glitter in the house, it never goes away. Same with Great Pyrenees hair. Are Great Pyrenees easy to train? Yes and no. They're wicked smart. They are really good at their job, but they do have that stubborn streak that they're known for, which isn't necessarily stubbornness. It's more they know what their job is and they're going to do their job even if you don't love it. So are they easy to train? Yeah, because they're smart, but no, because they think they know better than you. And a lot of the times they do know better than you, let's be honest. A well-trained livestock guardian dog is going to ignore you if they have to. So are they easy to train? Maybe. How do Great Pyrenees handle the heat? They're okay in the heat. So there are some livestock guardian breeds like the Tibetan Mastiff and that handle the heat a little better. These guys, remember, they were bred to be in France and Spain where it's a little bit colder than, down in the desert. So a desert bred dog will handle the heat better. These guys handle the heat okay, not perfect, but they are really a cold weather breed. So it's not that you can't have them in the hot weather. You can. You just have to make sure they have really good ways to cool down. We like to fill a kiddie pool with water so they can hop right in it and cool right down. Ducks will join them. Ducks and dogs all together. But they handle the heat okay. They need to be able to get out of the sun, and being able to actually get into a body of water like a pond or a pool is really helpful because it helps them cool right down. The ducks are going somewhere. Okay, the dogs don't like the fact that the chicken went too far. Vodka's making the chicken go back. All right. Vodka doesn't like, they don't like their guys getting too far. Okay, they literally do not like their animals getting too far away. They will make them go back to the barnyard, which is a little bit hilarious, but they don't like it. They don't like it. I think part of that is the neighbor's dog comes from that direction, so they really do not like the birds going too far that way because that's the danger way. So they kind of herd them back this way. It's kind of funny. There's a little bit of rooster fight happening, so the Tequila's on her way to handle the problem. That's the other thing. Tequila doesn't like fighting. So if two roosters start going at it, Tequila handles it. She goes over and breaks them up. It's really quite funny. And why are Great Pyrenees so stubborn? Okay, so it's not stubborn. Sorry, somebody is phoning. We're not going to answer the phone in the middle of a live stream. But why are Great Pyrenees so stubborn? They're not. It's not stubbornness. We always say it's stubborn. I'll even say it all the time. Yeah, they're so stubborn. It's not really stubbornness. It's that they are very deliberate thinkers. They are deciding if what you say even had any value. So it's not that they're stubborn. It's that they were trained to think for themselves, and so they were bred for thinking for themselves. So they are going to think for themselves. So it's not necessarily stubbornness. It's a deliberate thoughtfulness. So if you think your Great Pyrenees is being stubborn, it's not necessarily stubbornness. How do you groom a Great Pyrenees? As best you can. Okay, you get yourself some quality dog brushes. You use your horse brushes is what I tend to use. The horse brushes work better than dog brushes. So you do the very best you can to groom your Great Pyrenees. The hair is literally everywhere. You do want to try when they're shedding, try to get the clumps off because it's uncomfortable for them and it can be itchy. So you definitely just do the best you can. I would recommend, honestly, horse brushes. Get yourself a horse grooming kit. It makes a huge difference in grooming your Great Pyrenees. That's what I tend to use. It's better than the dog brushes you'll get at the pet store. So that's my recommendation there. What's something people get wrong about livestock guardian dogs? They get them without any knowledge of what the breeds are for. Okay, they don't understand that livestock guardians, and then they're too much for them to handle, and then they're wondering why aren't they not like the golden retriever that I had? Well, they're not like the golden retriever because they were bred to be these powerful dogs. So one of the things people get wrong about them is, well, I can handle them just like a golden retriever or a German shepherd. No. Okay, no. That they're not like that. What do livestock guardian dogs do when there's an actual predator? They do their job. I'm not going to get graphic, but when predators show up, Vodka puts the beat down and Tequila's right there with them. Okay. So they're not aggressive about it. They're determined. So have we had the occasional incursion? Yes, there was a fox who was attempting to eat literally every bird we have. and that fox is gone. I will let you assume what happened to it. It's never coming back. It's never coming back. Do I love that? No, because somebody once asked me, well, doesn't it upset you that sometimes they might take out a predator? Yes and no. I mean, they have a job to do, right? It's their job to make sure that that fox doesn't take out all our chickens. And if doing that job means that they have to make it so that fox can never come back, I mean, the fox started it. So does it upset me? Yes and no. I mean, anytime a life is lost, of course it's upsetting. However, if I have to pick between a fox and my flock of chickens or my goat, if I have to pick between the pack of coyotes and Shadowfax, our mini horse, do you really have to even think too hard to make that choice? Of course not. Of course I'm going to pick Shadowfax over the coyotes. So when there's an actual predator, they go after it. They 100%. Every time these guys go after it. Do I ever take the livestock guardians into town or on hikes? I don't go into town or on hikes if I can avoid it. We stay home. Not being home. So do I take them to town when they need to go to the vet? Town is not next door. Okay. When I say we're rural, we're distantly rural. Town is not next door. So do I take them to town? No, only to the vet. We go into town when we have to go to the vet for getting their shots. Have our livestock guardians ever saved the day? Yes, 100%. 100% these guys have saved the day. So, one, the neighbor's dog. The neighbor's dog actually she used to come over and play with our dogs all the time. And then one time she was over, and I guess the ducks looked tasty. And she put her mouth on Dolly the duck. My brown duck is Dolly. That's my favorite duck in the entire world. And she put her mouth on my duck. And Vodka reacted immediately. He put the neighbor's dog down on the ground. Now, am I able to stop Vodka? Yes, I can stop Vodka in a heartbeat. As long as that enemy, that predator, is not coming after me. If that predator was attacking me, could I stop him? Probably not, because I would be in active danger, and his job would be to make sure I wasn't in active danger before he did anything, before he stopped. So, have they ever saved the day? Yes. Vodka saved the ducks that day. They have driven off coyotes, and they have taken out the fox that was intending to make a meal of every bird we've got. So they have saved the day more than once. They have done it frequently. They are incredible, incredible animals. And I do recommend them. I do recommend, if you have a farm, you definitely want to consider a livestock guardian dog. A Great Pyrenees, maybe, but a different breed may work better for you. For us, Great Pyrenees work. Okay, so, and Tequila has a little Anatolian Shepherd in her. So I do recommend, if you have livestock, you really at least think about whether a livestock guardian dog will work for you, because they might. They might not. Let's be honest. They might not work for you, but they work for us. And I definitely think people should consider it, especially if you live in an area where there's a lot of predators. So we live in a really high coyote area, lots of coyotes. We've got foxes, and we have the occasional bear. And these guys are integral to making sure our chickens and our goats and our rabbits and our mini horse are protected against all of those predators. So I do recommend them. I think they are an invaluable part of our farm. We will never be without livestock guardians ever again, because they are so essential to keeping our birds alive. We want our animals to thrive, and having working livestock guardian dogs on the farm is essential to that thriving. Anyway, I think I am going to wrap up. The wind is getting worse. It is getting colder, and I see a flake of snow every now and then. I don't want to be out here in the snow. So we're going to wrap it up. And next time, I haven't quite decided what we're doing next week for our live stream. I will schedule it as soon as I have an idea and know exactly what I want to do. But until then, hopefully you can watch some of our other videos on livestock guardians. I have an entire playlist where I talk about livestock guardians, teaching them basic skills, some facts about them. So you can watch those. In the meantime, Vodka is deciding that he might take a tour down that way and see if there's anybody who might be making an incursion. So that's what's going on right now. But that is about it for us here today at Anderson Acres. Hopefully you found this useful and informative. We'll see you tomorrow.